American government, like many Western governments, is clearly very concerned about the situation, but they don't want to do anything that might have implications for Hong Kong that might harm Hong Kong itself. As for the British government, which of course has obligations with respect to Hong Kong dating back to its colonial rule that ended in 1997, it really doesn't have any levers to pull. As far as China views Britain, right. It's now pretty much a bit player in the whole Hong Kong story.
And does Hong Kong become a bit player in the whole China story? I mean, if it's not, and there's a lot at stake here. The U.S. could revoke its special status. We could see a flight of global financial capital out of Hong Kong, and maybe we're seeing that already.
Well, I think we have to look at what's happening right now and consider that, I think we're still away from the worst case scenario actually unfolding. For sure, there's a lot of jitteriness now in Hong Kong, including within the business sector, about these protests that have been roiling the territory for more than 2 months now. But I think what it would take for the rest of the world really to take some sort of action and, as you say, remove Hong Kong's special and separate status in terms of economic dealings with the rest of the world. I think what would have to happen first is Chinese intervention, troops on the streets, and the unraveling of Hong Kong's separate legal system. It still follows the British common law system, and that's absolutely vital for business confidence. Even though many businesses are now worried about these protests, the impact they're having, particularly on tourism, on property, and of course, as you mentioned just now, the crippling of the airport as a result of protests. Nonetheless, Hong Kong is still special, and it still has a huge amount of attraction to global business as well as China's.
And everyone's bracing for what could happen if these protests don't end, and the rhetoric from China has sharpened, no doubt. But what if they do end? I mean, what if people do go back to class, as the fall begins, and that's it? I mean, is this the one moment that might secure a different outcome for what otherwise looks like Hong Kong becoming just another Chinese city?
Well, I think we're absolutely at a critical moment here in terms of Hong Kong's future. Essentially, China has talked itself into viewing the current crisis in Hong Kong as an existential threat for the Communist Party itself. It talks about this being a color revolution. It talks about America being involved in a conspiracy not only to undermine Hong Kong, but to spread unrest across the rest of China. In other words, for China's leader Xi Jinping, this has become a crucial test of whether he can sustain his authoritarian system in the face of what China sees as concerted Western pressure, excuse me, to undermine it. And because of the stakes now having become so high, it's becoming increasingly possible to see China taking what, just a few weeks ago we would have thought would have been an unimaginable step, and that is actually sending troops out onto the streets to deal with this.